Welcome to the Creative AI Show. What do we have this week, Brian?
Hey, Rosh, happy to be here as always. We are two creative guys talking AI. And I took a week off from AI, Rosh, and I got to say it was great. I know you're headed on vacation too. You might be
Yeah.
doing the same thing, or you might be going doubling down on it and using it for every little family fun thing you could think of.
You never know.
So, but that being said, when I was out of town, ChatGPT 5 dropped. The
Yeah.
earth shattered a little bit here, and so I know we're both going to chat about that today, and
Yep.
our limited experience with it thus far. And then also the other part of what I want to talk about is Microsoft made some waves this week, not
Hmm.
with a new release or a new update, but with some tough news for people. They gave out a list of the top 40 jobs to inevitably be affected by AI.
Right, right.
And this information is super important, and not to be a downer on our show, kind of doubles down on the reason we do this show
Yeah.
is teaching people how to align with AI rather than look at it as the enemy.
Yeah.
And that might be one of the options you want to take going forward should your name be on this list. So
Right.
we'll deep
Yeah.
dive down that a little bit. What do you have going on, my friend?
So of course, ChatGPT 5, we'll dig into that.
Good.
And yeah, it kind of along the lines of these controversies around what AI is doing in society. I mean, you're talking about
Right.
jobs, but we get comments once in a while about art and what is art, and this is an art, and you're wasting energy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
all that stuff. And so I had a nice comment that I thought I replied back actually that
Okay.
goes for many of those people who have those thoughts. And so
It's
I
a
thought
conflict. Yeah.
it'll cover that topic very well. So
Yeah, and I mean, to speak to that real quick, and I know we're going to chat to it about the end, but yeah, I've gotten a few comments in our videos too that have actually kind of enlightened me and changed my perspective, whether I had, old man get off my lawn kind of attitude here,
right.
if it was in the music direction, but, maybe we look at it through the lens of progression. And, so I'm sure we'll
You
have a
have
healthy
to. Yeah.
conversation about that. Right.
Yeah.
Everything is progression, you hope. So, but speaking of progression, we've the long fabled spoken about ChatGPT 5, as promised, dropped last week. And I got to play with it a little bit this weekend when I got back in town. I definitely enjoyed the simplicity of using the platform and not having to choose which model,
Right.
or if I'm clicking image or deep research or operator, all those things. That's one of the main big benefits of ChatGPT is that you don't have to choose the model. The question or the prompt that you give it will automatically, it'll use its brain to choose which model is best.
Right.
Which is great, because I think there's a lot of confusion, and I know, I lived in this world with you for a while, and I still wasn't 100% sure what
Yeah.
each of the models did. So that's hopefully a
Yeah, I mean, it's about 10 models under, and I've heard as high as 10. There are three that you easily understand are
Mhm.
there, but there are others, all these other models under this one hood. And the thing is, some people are having issues with, is it switching correctly?
Right.
Is it, are you, does it give you the wrong model when you just want to say hello? It gives you a thesis. I mean, and that happened the other day. I just was asking, I was talking to it, and I just wanted, a multiply, number, just what's
Okay.
this times, related to this. And they say, well, went into this really complex mathematical problem, approach
Hmm.
to solve the problem, explained it step by step by step. It's like, come on already. Just give
Yeah,
me I just wanted
overcomplicated
the
it,
answer.
right.
I just wanted you as a calculator, nothing more. This was
Yeah.
an interaction kind of a thing. So,
Okay.
um,
Interesting take to, yeah. I've seen people having drastically different outputs, whether it's super short or super long.
yeah.
And I think that is a factor of it choosing which model it's going between and maybe not always nailing that.
Well,
So,
there's a number of there are other issues that people are having, and this was really interesting. So, most people like you, you're using 4.0,
mhm.
and and I was thinking, why would anybody use 4.0? But 4.0 is a very natural kind of connection, I think,
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And I was always more in the work, mathematical in coding world. And so every time there was a new update with the reasoning model, specifically like O3, I was always on O3 and some, these other versions. And so this, 4.0 was like, God, that's so old school, but it really wasn't.
No,
It
it
really
worked for
wasn't.
my
People were
purposes
having,
completely. Yeah.
yeah, people were having good relationship, and people got pissed because they were saying, "I lost my friend." You know, Chat
Yeah.
OpenAI gave him this engineer PhD who's now their bestie. And like
Yeah.
that's not my bestie. You're
Right.
boring. You have no personality, and the
Yeah.
stuff you want to talk about, I don't care about. So
Yeah.
where's my friend? And so they've been getting a lot of pushback.
Oh yeah. That's going to happen anytime a major update, and people just naturally don't like change. So once they get used to a tool that works the way that they're used to it
Right.
working, even if the next one's better, until they get used to it, they're going to have that natural pushback. It's kind of human nature. But you know that they're constantly be refining this and taking a lot of feedback.
Most
The
certainly.
first week anything's rolled out, there's going to be bumps and
And we knew
stuff like
that was
that.
going to be
So
the case.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
look, people who went from 4.0 to 5, it was a huge jump. But
Yeah.
those, again, who are using reasoning models, it was a little bit of a jump. And it is better. I have tested it, pushed its
Oh good.
boundaries with what I usually do. And yes, it is better. What it is not is more creative. It's an engineer. It's not as
Yeah.
creative like
Yeah.
Claude. I mean, like your comparison. I'm assuming I did not watch your last video that came out yesterday. I'm
Yesterday. Yeah.
assuming that's the conclusion you came up with.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, no, Claude is still drastically more creative, better at writing prompts. Again, like I said in the video I put up yesterday, and if anyone's listening to this on podcast platform, hop on over to our YouTube channel. Rosh and I were putting up videos every day. And of course, we hit on the GPT-5 platform. And yeah, I challenged it against Claude to write better prompts for text to video. And I just used Veo 3 Fast, kind
Yep.
of, our gold standard, not too many credits. And every single one of the videos that I got from the Claude prompt was superior to the ChatGPT 5. And, 4.0 kind of, a few months back, I made that switch over to Claude for, not just my prompt writing, but my ideas for which types of videos I'm going to make.
Right.
And, it's like its creative brain is that much bigger to
Yeah.
where, I asked ChatGPT 5, give me three completely original ideas for this comparison. And it still kind of went down that same lane where, it was a person walking down the city in the rain, or,
Yeah.
a motorcycle ride through here or there. The last one was kind of abstract and cool, where the guy was like walking on an ocean and a galaxy swirling. And so that was a little different and creative, but its prompt writing ability. And one of the things I thought was fun is I let GPT-5 and Claude both know that I was doing a comparison, comparing them against each other.
Oh,
So
okay.
I kind of wanted to push it a little bit to be like, find its competitive mode or something. So it gave a better output. And, Claude appeared to take that challenge kind of heads on. And it was like confident almost like, yeah, I know. I heard about this update to GPT-5, but I'm still way more creative. So here's what I've got for you.
Yeah, on
And
the engineering side, it was the same kind of a thing, with code
yeah,
and it was look, GPT-5 could really dug into some new areas and improvements in some of the
okay.
work that I've been doing that I was very happy with. But the output, the front end of things, the interface of it was just blah. And
Oh, no.
I
Yeah.
mean, so I just went back over to Claude and said, "Hey, make this pretty," and it was great. It
And
did a
it
great
did.
job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Well,
yeah,
it's fun. I mean, but yeah, it'll progress. We know that.
yeah,
But really, again, it's I think the main advantages of it is the fact that it's the everyday user, not the
yeah,
people that are in the weeds with it, like me and you, doing the show and
yeah.
everything. The everyday user is going to find it easier. Your
I think
context window.
I'm going to push back on that. I think the everyday
Okay.
user got shafted in this.
Okay. All
I
right.
really
Because
do.
they were used to one model and not switching
Used to
model to
one model
model, and
and it took
yeah.
such a big leap, and they lost the personality, their friend, the person, just like I said, I mean, you've gone from this fun, witty person to this PhD engineer. I mean,
Kind of
I don't know
dry.
if you know
Yeah.
many PhD engineers, but the ones I've met, fine people, but they're not all are that witty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
fair.
that's
But
obviously that's a broad brush, but that's I think the best analogy that I can think of that they've done. So I mean, but I
well,
do think they're gonna like to your point, they're gonna bring these elements back and hear
yeah.
the audience.
Well, one of the big things OpenAI is touting is that there's actually personalities that you can unlock in GPT-5.
I think that may be new. I
Yeah.
think that may be
Yep.
something they just updated to help us to
Yeah,
help people.
exactly. So it's distinct personalities, anywhere from a cynic, a robot, a listener, a nerd. Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
the output I'm getting here. And
Yeah.
you can tweak the tone and style. It can additional personalization, color themes, voice, tone control. So,
Nice.
there are ways to customize it to maybe mold your new friend back
Yeah,
and
right,
get
right.
yourself
Well,
back
and
to
I
where
did
you
hear
want to
about
be.
that. I've not played with that, so thank you for bringing
Okay.
that up because
Yeah.
I did not. I don't think that was part of the launch. I think that was in the next couple of days.
Maybe,
They
yeah,
added
yeah,
that.
maybe one of the first bits of feedback and updates that they gave.
Yeah.
But past that, and you even said this, that it's been faster response times, where it reduces hallucinations and
Hmm.
kind of mess ups. It's one of the first ones that's truly thinking, and then before it gives you the output, it's providing an extra level of thinking to make sure everything is in context,
Right. Yep.
which is good. Yeah, and that's ultimately the goal with AI, because every critic of AI, that's the first thing they're going to mention are the hallucinations, or
Right.
the incorrect, or they're going to mention the energy consumption. That's one of the
Yes.
other
Which,
big
hey, it's a
pushbacks that
fair
I've seen.
argument. It is a
Yeah,
fair argument. And with that, they're really well. Well, let's get into your next topic because we can talk about that in terms of the energy consumption and all that.
yeah,
Actually, in part of the later conversation. But I'm curious
good,
about
yeah,
your big list here because that's
yeah,
something
yeah.
that I think we're all on pins and needles. Like, okay, am I out?
Yeah, no, seriously, this is a real question. And again, even being in the world of social media, I've started to try to plan. And, again, with this, I thank you for inviting me on this podcast, because it's keeping me on the razor's edge and knowledgeable about what's happening in this world. That a lot of people, when you have uncertainty about things, that naturally produces fear,
Right.
and it produces, just you don't know which way things are going to go forward. So I'm very thankful that I kind of can see the writing on the wall in some departments.
Hmm.
And again, I'm about to do an 8-minute presentation with my 70-member BNI group.
Yeah.
And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to take about a minute and give some kind of harsh reality to the room and say, listen, this technology is coming, and it's coming fast, and it's already here. And there's a chance that it's already starting to affect this room. But in a year or two, this room will be greatly affected by this
Yes.
technology. What are you doing to plan and stay ahead of it?
Right.
And, obviously my biggest plug is like and subscribe to the Creative AI Show. That's rule
Yes.
number one, step number one of what you need to do. But no, in reality, that's why we do this show, is so we make creatives feel like they're not on an island or getting pushed off to shore in a barge, and
Yeah.
that we're inviting them in because there are ways that you can use these tools to be more creative.
Yeah.
And that's really the ethos of the show and why we do what we do.
But you know what? Some of the stuff. I mean, I just read an article about a team that had like 10 AI agents, and it worked in different parts of the business, and it
Okay.
was actually to help within the business. And they're like, this is harder than it looks
Yeah.
because you still have to manage them.
Right. You got to hold the handle a
I
little
mean, it's
bit.
just like having employees. So
Yeah.
you launch 100 AI agents out there, someone's got to field the results.
Right.
And that's actually that kind of leads into some of the other conversation. But it's not that easy. We're just kind of creating robot workers. In some cases, they're faster, but not right
Yeah.
now. And in some stuff, I think we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a
Yeah.
gradual change. I think I'm getting the feeling that we're starting to get to the top of that curve in terms of speed of updates and
Yeah.
levels because OpenAI is a pretty you know cutting edge company, but chat first chat we talked about this before. The first chat GPT 5 was 4.5 and we all thought it sucked. It wasn't that
Right.
great,
Right.
and so finally they had to release it because it'd been 2 years. We've been waiting. We figured 5 was coming out that spring,
Yeah.
within 6 months, and now it's 2 years later. And so I think that we're going to continue to get those incremental pushes that are not as
Mhm.
fast as we thought it was going to be.
Right. I mean, it's almost like when you're charging a battery and you get to the top of that battery and you're at 90%, it takes a lot longer to get to that 100%.
Yeah,
And it's
right.
like we're hitting the top of that hill to where we're trying to just get incremental gains out of an already amazing tool. And
Right.
until it's truly groundbreaking, they're kind of holding on to it before the release. And,
Yeah. It was kind of like, how many pixels do you need in your camera?
right. Yeah.
or
TVs
how
kind of
much
stopped
RAM
at
or
4K, and
memory.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, how
yeah, yeah.
much do you need? And then there's a point at which, yeah, there's other features and support, but again, you look, we all have a PhD in our pocket to answer our questions.
It's insane. Well, speaking of which, so I'm not going to give the full 40 on this list, but I do want to list the 10 and see
Yeah,
if there's something we see in common on here.
sure.
So interpreters and translators are number one,
Yeah,
unfortunately, because we know that that's going to be happening in real time. Even people wearing glasses, they're going to be able to have conversations with people that
absolutely.
translates. It's crazy. So historians, passenger attendants, I don't know what that means.
I don't
Um,
either.
sales representatives of services, writers and authors,
Yeah,
customer service reps, CNC tool programmers. That's
really.
curious.
Yeah, that's
So they
interesting.
might be able to, take the CAD data and immediately program their computer, or their machine to
Right.
make it using AI. So that makes sense. Telephone operators, we've been seeing this for a long time. We've all
Yep.
been getting calls, and I can tell right away when it's a robot. So I'll typically do the old man yell it and say, "You're a robot. I'm not talking to you," and then I'll hang up.
Exactly.
Yep. Ticket agents and travel clerks, and then broadcast announcers and radio DJs.
Mm,
Now, I don't know what, radio DJs. All right, let's be honest. We could have had a computer programming what music gets played for the whole day a
yeah.
long time ago. But I think radio DJs serve an essential point of giving communication in real time, giving their opinion, adding some personality.
Right.
I listen to Sirius XM and I listen to the main channels, not just the, formulated playlist channels, because I like hearing an actual person talking in between songs, maybe giving me some information about a tour or different things that are happening.
Right. Right.
So I don't know if that one's going to fully go away, but I mean, it could to a degree. I mean, I can hear the defensiveness in their voice when they talk about AI,
Yeah.
for
Right.
sure.
Sure.
So, but on the other side, so why are these roles vulnerable to AI? Well, heavy reliance on information and processing, tasks involving data analysis, digital completion, or functions that could be performed remotely. So all these remote workers,
Yeah.
if you're not needed in the office, you might just not be needed. So
Yeah.
that's
No, fair point.
that's a tough one to look at. So on the opposite side of the spectrum, the people, all the jobs that are going to be doing great here are the ones that require hands-on, a real
Hmm.
skill. Like number one's a phlebotomist, and I believe that's somebody who takes your blood, right? Am I
Yep.
smart
Yeah,
enough?
you
Yeah,
got
okay,
it.
I think so. Nursing assistant, hazardous waste removal, helpers, painters, plasterers, embalmers, plant and system operators, which that one I thought was funny because I'm like, you think AI can maybe be involved in that, but
Right.
I guess not. Maybe they're the ones directing all the operators. Oral surgeons, of course, you don't want a robot in your mouth doing oral surgery.
That's a scary
Um,
thought.
yeah, automotive glass installers and repairers, ship engineers, or tire repairers and changers. So it's kind of a weird list because it's things all across the spectrum.
Yeah.
But this feels so opposite of every single guidance counselor in high school 20 years ago.
It is, isn't it? Go
Right?
to college, go to college, go to college. Well, no, don't need that anymore. Learn
Yeah.
how to learn a trade, learn a trade, learn a trade is the
Yeah, I
theme
can
now,
see
huh?
college is struggling next because first of all, they're trying to compete with the ways to make it so are their professors using AI? Are their students using AI? Are they both in an AI battle with each other and nobody's really learning anything? So yeah, I can definitely see colleges having a little bit of a struggle going forward here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a scarier thing for society if higher learning's starting to go away. So yeah.
Let's
Anyway, so
talk
it's some
art.
heavy stuff, but we got to talk about it all, right?
Yeah.
Well, throwing back to you about, is this art? Or is there anything else you wanted to say towards that?
No, no,
The
no.
career
That's all
directions?
good.
Okay,
That's all good.
good.
So we get we every once in a while we get the comment because we're talking about bringing something to life. That's not bringing it to life, or that's not art. It's just a phrase. Of course, we know it's not a real person. And yes, we may say something is artistic and people get offended. And I said, and this comment I made to the last person had a similar type of a comment. I said, if I throw paint at a canvas, I have no idea exactly how the paint will fall on that canvas. But as an artist, I made a decision in the process and decided what actions, tools, and results met my vision. We can all debate if it's good or bad art. Someone has to throw the paint. Someone has to click the shutter, have a story, and decide if it meets the vision. Someone has to initiate the prompt.
Yeah,
So, and those, and decide if that result is good or not, or of value, and
right.
to tell the story or to, express what they want to express. And you don't have to use AI to do it. Sometimes that's the way to go. Sometimes, as you've done, use AI to get the idea.
Right.
Now let's bring it to an artist to say, can you render it in oils or,
Hmm.
watercolor? That would
Oh,
be
I mean,
really nice.
this
Yeah,
right here is an example of it, right there
exactly
behind
what
me.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, we had this debate with digital photography. That's not real photography. You have to be in the dark room and, work with
Yeah.
the enlarger and put it through the developer and stop math, and you got to fix it and make sure, it's like, look, it's just another tool. You can continue to use your roll film. That's perfectly fine. But my clients, specifically because I want to make a living, need the digital file. It's
Yeah.
the age we're in now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the same kind of a thing where, look, a client needs something that has a story element to it for their social media or their marketing,
Right.
and they don't have a $300,000 budget, and they don't necessarily have the all the elements available, maybe where you are to create what it is, but you can
Right.
create it now wherever you are. So
Fill in
it's
the
lowered
blanks a
that
lot
bar.
easier. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, good art, bad art, we can have that discussion of opinions all day long. But
Right.
how the artist, how the creator gets to their vision is totally up to them. And to be mad at progress or change, it's foolish because there's never been a point in which there was not progress or change.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You look at it every step along the way, and even on the side that I've kind of dug my heels in with the music and using these tools to create songs that are pretty astonishing.
Yeah.
Just because somebody didn't spend the years learning how to play a guitar like that or anything, doesn't mean that what they've outputted isn't art. But it's up to you whether or not you want to listen to it or you want to respect it or you want to do whatever. But it doesn't disqualify the fact that, hey, this might actually be a pretty good song.
My toes are
Or right,
tapping, you know?
right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're headed into a weird time, and there's going to be difference of opinion, and as we've seen across this country, certainly on the political spectrum, people are going to have a difference of opinion on things,
Yeah.
and that our job here is just to get the information out as much as we can,
Right.
and yeah,
And I think in the future, again, this is going to spread out to more different types of jobs, people with
yeah,
different specialties who work with AI, people who are really good at creating digital images, people who are good at creating music, people
hmm,
good at creating video clips and work with the AI and be able to put them together and say flow and build a story. And
right,
yeah, the AIs will be able to do something at that. But if you're forward thinking on all this, you can probably stay a good step ahead of the AIs for a while. And we're also talking about the energy consumption. OpenAI launched that those open source models before they released five, and they're small. And it turns out that many of these smaller models are much better at the task at hand,
hmm.
like medical models, maybe engineering, maybe it's a creative model, and they take up a lot less energy, like
Ah,
99% less energy. And
wow,
ultimately, we talked about this in the very beginning that these big models trying to be everything to everyone take up a ton of energy. And of course, that's kind of a safeguard for us because if there's an AI to take over the world, there's not enough energy for that to happen at this point in time.
right,
But if we're all becoming specialists in our little area with AI as our assistant, the person who prompts it and the person who decides if the result is good enough,
yep,
and you're the best at that. I think there's going to be a lot of those types of opportunities. It's
yeah,
going to continue
exactly,
to build. I mean, and that's where it's going to go. So you have to find your niche and develop your niche in this process. And maybe it is, yes, it's very possible that if you're a coder, they may not need a team of 10. They just need one person who is good at working with the AI to help produce it. And so,
right,
but that happened. Remember when there's a room full of people with typewriters, you know
yep,
I mean, a room full, and now you just need two people with a PC. in work,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
those kinds of things always happen. But those people, other types of jobs developed out of the need because
Yep.
now we have the time to do things and take it forward that we hadn't even thought of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and then, a big thing is that I think the wave of entrepreneurs is ahead of us, where people, so many people maybe have had an idea for a product or a service that
right,
they've just never had the tools to pursue.
right.
And now all those tools are there. Oh, how do I start an LLC? Oh, how do I get a marketing plan together? Oh, how do I, do all these big picture
How do I
business
create the
things that,
product,
right, yeah, yeah. Or how do I name the product? How do I
Yeah.
market it best? How do I, and all of these things, they could be assisted and get you, maybe a little further along than you would have been before, where maybe, if you're not too much of a go-getter or something, that maybe now this is just enough help to finally get that thing launched. And, we might have so many new products and services and things available to us that it'll uplift our whole civilization. That's the hope. That's the
That's
optimist
the
in me.
hope. That's the
Yeah,
optimistic hope. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but until then, we're going to keep talking about these optimistic things
Yes.
and get it, get the information out to our audience. But all right, anything else you wanted to cover today, my
No, I
friend?
think we got it. Good
Yeah,
job.
I think so
Yeah.
too. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone listening. And, until then, we're two creative guys talking AI.
Talk to you next week.